Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing Week 11 in the NFL. We're talking right now with Al McMordie from BigAl.com, who has a winning record with us all year long in the NFL. He tells me he's been very hot in the NFL recently, not a surprise, and right now he's going to cover the Minnesota-Chicago game. Al McMordie, thanks for being back with us.
Thanks, Peter. Always good to be here.
All right, Chicago and Minnesota is the game you're going to cover. This is an interesting game because a lot of times your technical analysis involves, when a team has given up 50 or more points in 2 straight games. So we'll see, if you have any data that refers to that. Before we get to it, tell everyone what's going on at BigAl.com. Brag a little bit about how well you've done recently at your site.
Yeah, well, we've been on fire of late. Last week in the NFL, 8-4. We cashed our first 5-star of the season. I rate my games 5, 4, and 3. And we had our very first 5-star play of the season last week on the New York Jets against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Terrific win there. We also cashed our Monday night game of the month on the Eagles versus Carolina. Last season, as we've talked about frequently on this show, I was 83-57 in the NFL. The previous year, documented #1 in the country by the Sports Monitor in pro football. And so NFL is one of my specialties, and we're red hot right now there. We're also on fire in hockey. Last year, we ranked #1 in hockey. This year, on a 7-0 run as we record this interview. In the NBA, we ranked #4 last year in pro basketball. So far, we're off to an 8-2 start on our top-rated NBA plays this year. So it's been going good, and we're just going to keep it going this week. And this Chicago-Minnesota game, I think, is pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, congrats on all your recent success at your site. Not a big surprise to me, and I'm very happy to have you analyzing this game because, right now Chicago's a 3-point home favorite. Total's 47. Minnesota's off the bye. Chicago, of course, got blasted at Green Bay, and Chicago's now lost 5 of their last 6 games against the spread. And Minnesota, for all their mediocrity, had covered 3 in a row heading into their bye. And Teddy Bridgewater, he's having kind of a typical rookie year, but not terrible. He's had make some rookie mistakes, but also has some pretty decent games. And I guess the big factor here, the Bears defense just getting absolutely gashed, right? They've given up more than 50 points in 2 straight games. Here they have Minnesota coming in, playing decently as an underdog. I don't know how to analyze this game, but my first thought is if you're going to go either way, you're going to go with Minnesota or the over. What's your take on this game, Al?
Well, you mentioned it at the start of this. The first thing I thought about was, well, let's take a look at and see how teams do after giving up 50 or more points in back-to-back games. And of course, it hasn't happened since 1923 when the Rockets since did it. So there's not much data there. But, if you take a look at this game, it's a lot different than their last 2 games. I mean, they're not facing Tom Brady. They're not facing Aaron Rodgers. They're going up against Teddy Bridgewater. So it's a lot different situation here. I think you can throw those last 2 games out. And I like Chicago in this ball game at home, minus the points. And technically, this is a great spot for Chicago as losing teams off straight-up losses if they're pick 'em or favored versus opponents off win, and if our losing team failed to cover the spread by 8 or more points in that previous game. These teams, whether home or on the road, they're 55-22 against the spread their last 77. We've talked about that situation on this show before, and I'm going to just bring it up again. This is a great situation to take Chicago. That's one thing I like about the Bears. Another thing is Minnesota is off back-to-back upset wins. Chicago's off back-to-back losses. When you get teams off back-to-back losses versus opponents off back-to-back upset wins, our teams off those upset wins are a very poor 43-71 ATS since 1980. And then the other thing, these 2 teams play in the black and blue division, and teams out of the NFC North, they're 49-25 against the spread off a loss if they're playing a division rival off a win, including 17-5 ATS as a favorite. I'm going to lay the points with Chicago.
Okay, we make a very strong argument. I guess the thing that most people would look at and not quite be sure how to analyze is how much of a boost does Minnesota get off the bye? And you didn't mention it really, so I guess you're sort of throwing that out. You feel like it's a factor, but not a big factor.
It's we've talked about it here. One of when you take a look at the bye weeks, certain situations are better than others. One of the best situations for bye weeks for NFL teams is if our team is actually a really bad team. If they have a win percentage of 332 or less, those teams actually do very well off bye weeks. Teams in the 500 plus range, if you're mediocre to good, the bye week doesn't help you as much as really bad teams. And this Minnesota, the bye week won't confer terrific advantage to them in this situation. It's not worth staying away from Chicago just because Minnesota's off the bye.
Interesting and thorough analysis. Very illuminating. As always, Al McMordie liking Chicago -3 over Minnesota. Thanks, Al.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.